So now is week 5 of the course, Programming in Python for Mathematics. So I'm reminding you of the title of the course because there are 3 components in this title: Programming, Python, and Mathematics. And this week is a very important week for the course because we're shifting our attention towards a new aspect and thereby also changing much of the structure of the course. So let's see this. What have you learned so far? Well, so far you have learned how to program, essentially, how to do a basic program in a high-level language. And you can be very proud of what you have achieved so far. In only 4 weeks, you can already write quite complicated programs. And this is something to be proud about because it's very difficult when you have never programmed to start. It's just difficult at the start. Now, you have learned to program in Python specifically. And there is a lot of particularities of Python that we have to see in the coming weeks. So we're shifting away from general theory about programming or the little we've seen, but really shifting into the depth of Python and the particularities of Python. And for instance, this week, we're starting to learn about the particularities for one aspect, which is input and output. So how do you get in data into Python and how do you put out data? So there will be 3 main themes, or 3 main videos actually. One on files, so files input and output. One on interactive input, how to ask for input from the user. And one on string formatting, so how to format strings so that they look good when you print them out, when you print them to a file. And it's not just looking good, but it's also how to make them useful, more readable to humans and to computers. Okay. So this and much of the Python programming will still be evaluated by automatically graded homework in the coming weeks. But I want to give you a warning this week about 2 things. The first one is just for this week. It's very difficult to grade programs automatically on this aspect, on the aspect of writing files. So it was already very difficult to write those automatic graders for the previous weeks, but it's particularly difficult for this week because a lot of things actually depend on the system that you're using. So if you're testing it locally and it works, it's quite possible that it won't work when you actually submit it to the grader. And this would be because, for instance, you're using a Windows machine and the machine that the grader is running on is a Unix machine. And it's very difficult to write the grader in such a way that this is prevented, that we can go around this difficulty. For this reason, I really suggest when you have a problem that you try to run your own program on the ThinLink machines as well, because there you have an environment that's much closer to the environment of the grader. You should also try to compare your code with the code written by others using a different system. So if you have a friend who uses Windows and you use a Mac, talk to that friend and try to compare the output of your code on the 2 machines. To help you do this, you can also post on the forums describing your system and describing the type of problems you are encountering. Don't copy-paste code. But if you encounter a problem, we can then go look at your submission and see what actually happens. It would really help if you provided system information as well. So that was the first warning for this week about the homework. The second warning is that a privacy policy is now in force for the homework. There wasn't one before. So it's posted on the wiki, and I encourage you to read it. My intentions are good. I think I want to enable students to do interesting stuff, and in order to do this, I would like to use also your homework submissions to propose topics for the students. This is only possible if I explicitly explain my privacy policy, and that's why I've posted it. So I encourage you to read it, and if you have any concerns or questions, please ask. So that was for programming and programming in Python, and the third component is programming in Python for mathematics. Mathematics, or actually maybe anything you care about, because some students in the course are not mathematicians, but biologists, physicists, and even engineers. So it should really be programming in Python for something you care about. And this could even be the outside world, something that hasn't got much to do with mathematics. How am I going to encourage you to do that? How am I going to encourage you to use your programming and your the Python you're learning to explore all those things. It's impossible to do with automatically graded homework. And that's why we're now switching to projects. So in a separate video, I'll explain to you everything that you need to know about the projects, how they will work, how they will be graded, etc.